Hello and welcome back. I'm Alvin of Alvin Inc. and today we're doing a speed build of a garden out front of Nook's Cranny. Let's go. Alright, so starting off, I'm going to outline where I want the pathing around the garden. I'm going to do that by digging holes in the ground, 2 holes on each side for a pathway that's 2 squares wide, and 4 holes down from Nook's Cranny so that I have plenty of space in front of the Nook's Cranny store to kind of put some decorations and trees and still have a good sized pathway. And now I'm going to be outlining the top part of the garden with some trees and fencing just so I have a better idea of the space that I'll be working with for the garden. Alright, so now that I've set up some of the fencing and I have a better idea of how big the garden's going to be, I'm laying down some of the red wood pathing, and I'm using that pathing because I think that the color matches the Nook's Cranny in the background super well, and on either side I'm going to put down the dark dirt path, and there I'm going to plant some shrubs, flowers, and display the mush lamps to help frame the Nook's Cranny in the background. So here I'm going to place down the garden bench, and I chose to go with the green option just because I think the green goes really well with a lot of the colors that I'll be using for the garden area. And I also picked up a white and brown fountain, which I'm going to use to kind of help give some shape and structure to this garden. So now I'm placing down the dark dirt pathing. I only have one fountain right now just to kind of help me get an idea of how to best shape this garden area. My goal is to have 4 separate sections. 2 sections that have the fountains, the white and the brown, and then 2 other sections that have a lot of nature and trees and flowers and shrubs and some other items that mesh well with the white and brown color scheme. And the pathing will also help me better know where to put down the rest of the fencing so that I can create a nice closed off garden area. I like to use a couple of different kinds of fencing for my different areas. I think that it adds a little more dimension and personality to the space as well. So here I'm using country fencing and the hedge fencing because I think that the two of them together complement each other very well and just make the area feel more natural and eye-catching. Because the main focal point of my garden is the Nook's Cranny, and especially the Nook's Cranny sign, I'm placing all of my trees on the outside perimeter or close to the edge of the garden, just so that it keeps the central path pretty clear of anything that obstructs the view. But I found that the trees placed toward the outside also really help to frame the Nook's Cranny in the background really, really well, which I'll show you in just a bit. And Fauna gifted me a toilet. How thoughtful. I'm placing a couple of bounty trees on the outside perimeter of the garden just because I wanted to throw in a little festive holiday flair, and I think that the white and brown coloring of the bounty trees goes super well with the brown and white fountain. I really like this wood plank custom pathing. I think it makes the dark dirt path look more like a boardwalk, and if you look closely, there's these little sparkles, and I love sparkles, so I was like, why not? So now I'm going to be placing a couple of items around the garden. I'm going to be keeping with the brown and white color scheme, but I like when things are opposite. So if I have something brown, I'm going to put it on the side of the garden with the white fountain, and if I have something white, I'm going to put it on the side of the garden with the brown fountain. It adds a little bit of asymmetry to the space, which I think is just more eye-catching, and it helps everything pop a little more. And now it's flower picking time! So I'm focusing on orange, yellow, and white flowers. I'm also going to pick up a couple of pumpkins and the blue pansies, because I think that once they all come together in the garden, it's going to look really good. So now I'm working on either side of Nook's Cranny. On one side, I want to have just like a nice sitting area, and on the other side, I want it to just be kind of natural and earthy, have some cardboard boxes, because I think that fits the aesthetic of Nook's Cranny and Timmy and Tommy really well. And here, I am doing some water terraforming, and my Joy-Con controllers were not cooperating, so I just kind of skipped through half of that because that was way too difficult to get the right look that I was looking for, but I finally figured it out. So on every island that I've had with Animal Crossing New Horizons, I always put one thin light dirt pathing strip in front of my Nook's Cranny, and I always put down some custom pathing designs just to help the area pop a little bit. You know, it's the entrance into Nook's Cranny, so it has to be a little bit extra and a little bit too much, and I love it, and that's what I did. So I just placed these trees down, but I'm thinking that they're a little bit too close together and blocking Nook's Cranny, so I'm gonna move both of the trees over one, just because when the trees are on the edges of the building, it doesn't block the view of like the festive tree and the hot item board. So I think it helps frame Nook's Cranny just a little better. So when I picture Timmy and Tommy just like moving about the island, I picture them on a kick scooter. So that's why I placed the red scooter in front of Nook's Cranny, because I'm like, it just makes the most sense that that's how Timmy and Tommy would get around the island. And the red color fits perfectly with the red door. So 2 birds, 1 stone. I decided that this side of Nook's Cranny is going to be my sitting area. So again, I'm using the red wood pathing just because I love the combination of the red pathing with Nook's Cranny. And I'm also placing down some green iron furniture because I just love the combination of green and red, especially with the festive holidays coming up. And it's like, if something's not broken, don't change it. So, like, a week ago, Sherb asked me to come up with a catchphrase for him, and I came up with burble, which to me is like the perfect catchphrase. So no, Sherb, you cannot change your catchphrase. Burble, burble. In this empty area, I'm gonna put a tree and some plants and a dark brown swinging bench just to fill in the area a little bit. So to fill in the path around the garden, I'm going to make little circular patches of pathing. So here I'm using the red wood just because it works so well with Nook's Cranny. But otherwise, I'll be using the dark dirt and the light dirt pathing. And I think that having the variation of color will help the path and the park around it pop a little more. And I'll also be laying down some weeds, pumpkins, and on the pathing itself, I'll be putting some custom designs, rocks and weeds and whatnot, just to help the path look cohesive, but also kind of filled in and not just like empty dirt. The pathing takes me a while and it's pretty simple, so I'm just going to skip through most of that. Here you can see that on the light dirt pathing, I placed down some rocks. And on the dark dirt pathing, I placed down some weeds. Be careful with the weeds and custom pathing because sometimes they just go all over the place. So it's always a hassle to clean up the mess that you make. Yay! Alright, the garden is finished. I think it turned out amazing. I think the Nook's Cranny looks beautiful, framed by the trees, and I really enjoyed this speed build. I hope that you enjoyed the video as well, and if you did, please remember to like and to subscribe. It would mean the world to me. I'll leave you with a couple clips of the finished garden so you can see how it's all come together, and until the next video, bye! Bye.